Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that you're able to see me this morning, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a very generous introduction, and I'm excited to speak with you this morning. I've been working closely with the National Energy Skills Center in Trinidad and Tobago for I think the last 10 years. In my first 4 or 5 years working with the National Energy Skills Center, I would make at least 4 trips to Trinidad every year. In the last few years, it's only been about an annual trip. So I have not been down there for almost a year now. I miss seeing my friends in Trinidad. I miss the nice warm weather in Trinidad and the hospitality. And as you know from the introduction, I have a passion for culinary arts, and I do miss the cuisine and the foods and tastes of Trinidad and Tobago. So I look forward to the time when our borders open up and global travel is enabled and we can go forward. I'm really excited this morning to be able to share with you a Red Deer College story, and so I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully everything will work out. Now, if anybody can just give me a thumbs up or a note that you can see my presentation here on the screen, that would be great. Perfect. So innovation, creativity in apprenticeship and technical and vocational training. This is a Red Deer College story. As noted, I'm the Dean of the School of Continuing Education, but I partner very closely with our School of Trades and Technology and my counterpart Dean, Joel Gingrich here at Red Deer College. And so I'm going to give you a little bit, for those of you who don't know, we're located in Alberta, Canada. And from this makeshift map here, it's a long way from Trinidad. You know, Trinidad would be way down here, and I'm way up here in this corner of the cold north, and Red Deer sits right in the middle of the province of Alberta. And in each one of those cities, there is a technical training institute, and sometimes more than one. A little bit about Red Deer College. Apprenticeship at Red Deer College, we have 15 different apprenticeship trades. We have automotive service technician, we have automotive service technician, heavy equipment technician, welding, electrical, instrumentation, millwright or industrial maintenance mechanic, locksmith, rig technician, drilling, and a number of others in plumbing, carpentry, and a few others. We also have 3 engineering technology diplomas in engineering, electrical engineering technologist, instrumentation technologist, and then we also provide a number of other comprehensive programs. We provide programming in business, in education, in healthcare, in traditional liberal arts, and we're a comprehensive institution. To get a feel and size of Red Deer College is, Red Deer College is approximately the 3rd largest training provider for apprenticeship and vocational training in the province. 2 other institutions, NAIT and SAIT, who are north and south of us, the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology and Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. They are the largest, and they can fight it out who's number 1 and who's number 2, but we're the 3rd largest. And then if you took the 15 other providers in the province and combined them together, they would be about the size of Red Deer College. We have approximately about 1,500 to 2,000 apprentices that work with us every year. My school, while we don't deliver the apprenticeship training, we're the innovative incubator of new ideas and new methodologies of training, but we also handle a number of other apprenticeship style programs that help bridge people into an apprenticeship program. So technical training here in Alberta happens a number of different ways, and here at Red Deer College, we do a traditional apprenticeship approach. We do what we call pre-employment training. We do trades explorations, and then we do our engineering technology diplomas. And I'll walk through a little bit of our traditional apprenticeship, our pre-employments, and our trades exploration. And I'm going to leave the technology diplomas aside and focus a little bit more on the apprenticeship and TVET style training. So at Red Deer College, our traditional apprenticeship, or anywhere in Alberta, any of the institutions in Alberta, whether it's NAIT or SAIT or Kiano or Red Deer College or Grand Prairie or Lethbridge College, we all support traditional apprenticeship. And in Alberta, traditional apprenticeship is comprised of 3 stakeholders: a college or training institute like Red Deer College, government, and our governing body is the Alberta Industry and Trades, and then employers. And all 3 industry groups, or employer and industry groups, and all 3 stakeholders work collaboratively to develop curriculum and create a methodology to train apprentices for the workforce. And traditionally, how it's done is a student or a potential learner would seek an employer to be hired. And once they're hired, they would enter into an indentureship contract, and that learner would then work for that employer for a full year and earn about 1,560 plus hours of work experience in a trade that they were interested in, whether it be welding or electrical or plumbing or carpentry or automotive or heavy equipment, whatever that trade is, and they would work. And they would have no training. They would work unskilled for a year. And then they would enroll in an 8-week technical training institute like Red Deer College for what we call period 1 or block 1 of training. And those are approximately 240 hours of full-time training, and it's split about 50-50. 50% of the time is in a classroom, and 50% of the time is in the shop with the instructor. And then at the conclusion of that 8 weeks, they go back to their place of work and they work for another year. And that rotation happens 3 or 4 times depending on the trade. So for example, welding and steam fitter, pipe fitter are 3-year apprenticeship programs. So they do 3 work periods and 3 periods of technical training at Red Deer College. If they're an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter or heavy equipment or automotive technician or industrial millwright mechanic, those would be a 4-time rotation and be 4 years of work plus 4 blocks of technical training. It's a very traditional approach. It's used primarily all across Canada, but it has some limitations, especially today with workforce disruptions because of COVID-19, with U-turn economies and down prices in natural resources. Many employers are choosing not to hire apprentices, and they are being able to hire existing skilled journeymen who hold a journeyman ticket and a red seal. And it's very difficult now for a young person or a person wanting to find an apprenticeship. And when economies return, it creates a deficit in skilled labor. And so colleges and schools like mine, we find innovative ways to start a learner's apprenticeship route before the employer. And that's what a pre-employment program is. And so a pre-employment program, and my school runs about 15 of these every year. We have about 300 to 500 students in any given year who participate in these types of programs. And the primary difference is rather than the student finding an employer first and becoming indentured, they come to the college first. And they put a little bit of skin in the game. The student pays the full tuition. They don't receive any government subsidy, but they invest in themselves. And we front load the first block or period of technical training in about 10 different trades. So whether it be a cook or a culinary, automotive, heavy equipment, electrical, industrial maintenance mechanic, welder, a number of those that we run. And we put them through the technical training up front before they go to employer. In addition to the technical training, we also add a number of other certificates that help to increase their chances of employment to secure an indentured apprenticeship. Some of those additional certificates would be a first aid ticket, WMIS ticket, a construction safety ticket, confined workspace, and a number of other types of industry tickets that allow them to become more employable. The last element we add into our pre-employment programs is industry tours and industry guest lecturers. So through our network of employers, we invite employers to come in and meet with the students, interview the students for potential jobs, but we also take the students off campus into the workplace and help them explore what it's like to work into that trade. What we find is students who successfully complete a pre-employment program and earn the first block or period of training up front have a 75% chance of securing, 75% more likely to secure an employer who will indenture them and then enroll them as a traditional apprentice starting in year 2. It's very, very successful. Employers are very proud of it because they get to hire a worker who has some training. They're safe. They have the basic understanding of power tools, hand tools, and how to perform the foundational levels of that trade or vocation as soon as they're hired. Very, very popular. However, there's still a limitation to this. And some of you who are education leaders or instructors may find that after a student engages in a few weeks of a vocation, that they may not be as interested in that vocation anymore. Maybe they didn't actually understand what it was really like to be a welder, and they were misinformed, and after 3 or 4 weeks of welding, they really didn't like it. Yet they finished the pre-employment, but chose not to do a career in welding. And that's a reality. A lot of the attrition in apprenticeship or pre-employments happen right after the first year, where they want to select a different career. They thought they wanted to be a welder, but now they want to be a carpenter. Oh, I'm sorry, my screen's not sharing. Thank you for the kind note. Let me know if you are now seeing the slide deck again.
That's Rodney. Yes, seeing you now.
You're seeing that. Thank you very much. Okay. So, as I said, there are limitations even to pre-employments because students may not understand the full scope of training. So in the last couple of years, we've designed programs called trades explorations. These are for individuals who are undecided about committing to a specific trade or vocation and want to expose, and we want to expose them to multiple trades and multiple experiences, but still give them a skill set that makes them employable. So we've designed a short 16-week program that exposes a learner to 8 different trades. In addition, we provide them essential safety tickets in first aid, in WHMIS, and construction safety, confined workspace. We also incorporate digital literacy because what we know now is in a COVID world, our apprenticeship programs and pre-employment programs are being delivered in a blended format. And not all the apprentices or learners who want to enter into a vocation have the digital literacy skills to engage and learn in an online environment. But we also know the environment and work is different as well, and there are new technologies and new modes of delivery and work happening where digital literacy is important. We also do employer and industry tours, but we also provide upgrading in trade-related science and math. And what we know is lots of learners come to the table with lower level skills in math and science that are essential to be successful in future apprenticeship programs. These have been exceptionally popular, and we run these a number of different ways. We run these for individuals in what we would call an open enrollment stream, or we've partnered with employment agencies throughout Western Canada for underrepresented groups or individuals who have been challenged to have employment to find a way to bridge to apprenticeship. What we're seeing in our trades exploration programs is about 85% of students who successfully complete a trades exploration program have identified a trade that they want to pursue, as well have found an employer who wants to indenture them. And we're able to scaffold the learning. So the learning, obviously you're not going to become skilled in any of the 8 trades during a trades exploration. But what they do become skilled in is they learn the basics of hand tools and power tools that bridge across multiple trades. They learn trades-related math. They learn how to read blueprints. They learn how to work safely, and they have an employable skill set within a trade that helps them bridge into apprenticeship. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a minute, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a video that we did a number of years back, And I'm just going to open it and then share again. And if someone can key in and let me know that they can see School of Continuing Education, Virtual Reality and Cooperative Trades, the Next Generation. And I'm going to see if this plays for us. So before I play it, 3 years ago, we were approached by the federal government of Canada to find alternative ways to incorporate new technology and new ways to train apprenticeships to increase the success rate of trades completion, but also to find a way for underrepresented learners to participate in vocation and trades training. In Alberta, we have First Nations or Indigenous or Aboriginals who live in remote areas of the province who are limited to access trades training because they live in remote areas, because they face systemic racial barriers, and they live in First Nations or reservation communities which are not centrally located near any technical training center. So this video describes a project that we partnered with Montana First Nation, so an Indigenous group, that was able to incorporate new technologies in welding to help start the learning in a remote community that would then bridge them to Red Deer College and then lead them to an employer. So here we go.
It's a collaborative program between the federal government, Red Deer College, Montana First Nation, and our industry partner, Worley Parsons Court. It's an innovative way that incorporates new technology, new learning methodologies, and allows people who aren't located in urban areas to participate into apprenticeship programs.
It's a good program. You can learn a lot from it. You just gotta apply yourself and have a good attitude coming into it, and you could come out with a journeyman welding ticket.
This program really taught me how to be more independent and really think about the choices that I make for not only myself but everybody else. I feel like it's going to be very beneficial not only for us but for our communities especially.
It's also known as burn-off rate.
These students were able to sit within their home and start the learning for the first 4.5 weeks, and then got to transition into Red Deer College to start their traditional apprenticeship training.
We partnered with government and with the Indigenous communities in our region, but also within RDC. It's been amazing the people that have stepped up to support this. The School of Trades and Technologies and our school, the School of Continuing Education, have been involved right from the start.
To see that come to fruition is just, like I say, a dream come true. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we're able to offer an opportunity to these students that they may not have otherwise, and it's very fulfilling for me.
I'm very proud of the collaboration and partnerships in this, but it really comes down to the students, and we have had the most amazing group of students involved in this project.
Just that weld going in there is going to keep that up, make it expand.
When we selected the Miller Augmented Virtual Reality equipment as the equipment we wanted to incorporate, it allowed us to begin welding training in a remote community like Montana First Nation.
I think they learned from it. I think obviously it's not like really welding and the sparks and the heat and the noise and stuff like that, but definitely helped with the muscle control and learning angles and the different stuff that they're going to need to know.
There's so much research and technology put into the machines where it's basically giving you the parameters of doing a real weld in a real shop.
After being with them for several weeks now, 8 weeks or more, you start to bond with them a little bit as instructor.
The instructors really helped when it came to getting a technique or finding a technique.
They're really experienced guys, and they just give you all the help that you could need. You just got to be willing to put it forward and ask for it.
Trying to create some little long rails, gives me a little bit of a groove.
I think one of the special things about this program is the relationship that's developed between Red Deer College and Montana First Nation. Without their contributions and without combining the wisdom and experience from their culture, from their perspective, with our educational values, we could never have the success we're having.
So that's just a short clip of how we introduced a new technology the Miller Augmented Virtual Reality Welding Units to allow us to start to deliver training somewhere other than our campus. And these units were exceptionally portable. Each one of them weighs about maybe 25 pounds, and they're about the size of a standard desktop computer, but they're able to hook up to a screen to project the images. And what these units allowed were for students who had never welded before to be able to start welding or start to learn how to weld on a virtual and augmented reality machine without the risks of injury, without the consumption of gas and expensive metals and plates in any location where you can get electricity. Further to that, though, if the area that we were training in had internet connectivity, these virtual reality and augmented weldings hook up Wi-Fi, or they can hook up through a landline and be able to push the results of each weld that they practiced on to our online learning management system to be graded and scored by an instructor who was not located physically in the classroom. This technology enabled students to learn angles, inclination, speed, travel rate, welding procedures in a very safe way, to where we could issue them a digital badge that they were booth ready and ready to transition to our traditional campus for shop welding. They've been it's an exceptional way to provide new technology and innovation. Students who started training on these augmented reality welders transitioned to the booth at a 70% faster rate with a higher success rate once they got to the booth. We've been able to use these in a number of ways, whether it's in distance learning or remote learning, or students who are struggling, who are traditional apprentices, who would like to take a unit home and practice at home. We're able to check them out from our college, take them to their home overnight, practice at home or over the weekend, and then bring them back and be able to build those skills forward. Because let's face it, most learners don't have access to the tools and equipment they need to learn outside of the classroom. Our traditional apprenticeship approach and traditional training approach makes the learner 100% dependent upon the institution. But by incorporating different technology, you're able to, and in using technology like this, for example, in welding, allows people to take that learning home and have that learning happening in their home. So today, we're in a COVID world. When COVID hit the western part of the world, and probably it hit Alberta similarly to the same time it hit in Trinidad and Tobago, which for us was around March 17th, March 18th, when the cases really started to grow, and all of a sudden travel was shut down. Our college was closed, and we sent learners home, we sent staff home, and it became a very uncertain time for learners and staff. And after a couple of weeks of this uncertainty and not knowing it was going to end, it was up to us as leaders to be able to rethink and to be innovative and creative and transformational in the way that we restart apprenticeship training. And there's a number of ways that I want to describe and how we did this. So when we think about online, we have to rethink online and blended learning. Traditionally, or in the last 10 years prior to COVID, online learning, particularly in apprenticeship or vocation, was very limited. And in other disciplines, online learning was basically where students would engage in an online platform where they would read slides, PowerPoint slides, or they would listen to pre-recorded lectures. And it was a very passive learning methodology with very low engagement. But in a COVID world, we decided that we were going to clearly separate theory and practical skills development. And we were going to be very intentional about looking at our learning outcomes and which outcomes were theoretical and which outcomes were practical, and really be clear on how we would scaffold that learning so that when we would rethink online and blended learning, we would be able to engage learners in a different and more meaningful way, where learners could connect with other learners, learners can connect with the instructor, and even employers can engage in that online world. What we needed to do was to find new ways to prepare a learner remotely and online so that when they return to our campus, that the limited and very, very strict time that we have in the shop because of COVID, that their time is maximized. So we are now preparing our learners as much as possible online so that when they do come to campus, and we do have students back on campus now in the shops, still physically distanced, in smaller sizes and not as much time, but we have found that through a new online and blended learning that they're more prepared in the shop. And so I'm going to focus on a few things. The first is we have to rethink and we need to focus our programs, our program design and our lecture designs to focus on learning and not teaching. Traditionally in apprenticeship, we do a lot as instructors, we do a lot of talking at the students. We read content to them or we give them content read, and it's a one-way street. But learning is a multifaceted way where learners share what they understand with subject matter experts and they engage in dialogue. They really get to the understanding of why, and they do it in creative and new ways. So some of the things that we've learned in developing and delivering online apprenticeship training is we need to have a micro learning pedagogy. It is unrealistic and it's not effective to have learners sit in a live online classroom for more than 45 or 60 minutes. We found if we had 3-hour online live classes where the instructor was broadcasting their screen and connecting with the students was far too long. At about the 45-minute mark, an individual learner is no longer receiving any information. They have about a 45 to 60 minute attention span in online, and then they need a break. I always describe it like drinking from a fire hose. In that 45 minutes, they're going to get a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of engagement. And if you're trying to drink from a fire hose, very little of the water gets into your mouth and most of it falls onto the floor. And so then we have to be intentional about creating space and opportunities for the student to have time to process, time to think and digest, and then think about questions they want to ask. We have to engage learners through different online tools. We need to take advantage of the learning management platforms, whether it's Blackboard or Moodle or D2L or Adobe Connect or Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom. And we need to engage students in discussion boards. We need to allow students to be able to comment on content. That can happen by them typing, or we can incorporate the tools where they can turn on their microphone and they can record themselves speaking about it. This was very important to underrepresented learners, especially those whose digital literacy was low. Some students really have a hard time describing what they know and showing what they've learned through texting or through typing, but they are able through story. And so by enabling them to turn their microphone on and record a short podcast about their learning is another way that we could assess them. We also would use video portfolio submissions, partnering with industry, allowing our learners to go into an employment setting and to practice the use of hand tools or power tools, and using their smartphone, having a partner to video them, demonstrating a learning outcome, and then uploading that video onto the learning management system for the instructor to watch and then provide comment and feedback to the student in a digital way so that the student can get that feedback, or even a live session where the instructor and student play the video recording back together and they talk through what they did well, where they can improve. When delivering online, it's important that we pair our instructors with an online moderator. So even this morning, I wasn't quite sure if you were seeing my screen, and so you would hear me ask, can somebody please tell me if you're hearing the screen? We need to make sure that we have online moderators or online techs who are helping our instructors use the learning management technology, so our instructors are focused on their teaching and learning and not focused on how to use the tools within the learning management system. It's an additional cost to the institution, but it's essential in ensuring that learning has happened. We have to ensure that our instructors are free to be available to students. And so creating space where the instructors are online to answer questions, to be able to have drop-in sessions, or to be able to have what I call sidewalk cafes where students and instructors can engage in an organic conversation and not a traditional lesson. We also need to bring curriculum to life. And so instructors can go to the campus and go into the shops and video record some of the practical skills and upload those videos and then narrate over top of those videos to highlight the learning points. Students can watch those videos over and over again, and they can be able to upload their own, and you can create that learning environment. And the last is interactive problem solving and case studies. One of the advantages to online learning is you can now pose real life problems and you can get multiple engagement from students. What I found in my previous life as an instructor is lots of students could hide in a classroom. Imagine yourself as an instructor at the front of the room, standing in front and seeing 20 students, and you've got 4 who are answering questions and who are engaged, and 10 of them who are just listening, and maybe 4 who have checked out. In an online environment, it provides students multiple ways to show their engagement. You can track the amount of times they viewed content, they watched videos, the number of times they've logged in, how they've logged in. They can be texting into the LMS. There's lots of ways to create gamification and engagement to bring curriculum to life and to create that engaging learning environment. A couple of things that I would watch out for, and that we're watching out for here at Red Deer College. We don't want to let technology get in the way of learning. As you onboard new learning management systems, Blackboard, Moodle, MS Teams, Google Classroom, there are a lot of tools and technology that's really exciting, but sometimes we let the sophistication of the learning management system get in the way of learning. And we put too many tools and too many new things in the face of students, and they're now learning how to use the learning management system instead of learning with the content. So it's really important that as you start this, you take a crawl, walk, run approach and keep it simple as you start with this. Both instructors and students require support. Whether you're delivering remote and online or blended learning, it's new to technical vocational apprenticeship training, and we need to be patient. We need to invest in our instructors. We need to invest in our students so they can learn and teach digitally. And we have to ensure that we have the institutional resources to be able to be successful. And the last is, we have to find ways to bring learners back onto our campuses and back into our shops. Online, augmented reality, virtual reality can't replace the shop time. It can enhance it and it can prepare them for it, but it can't replace it. And so we have to work with our occupational health and safety, with our governments, to be able to find ways in a COVID world to safely bring back students, whether it's in shorter times or in smaller cohorts, so that they can get the hands-on skills that they're going to need to be employable, so that we can ensure that we are certifying that they do have the skills and abilities that the credential we're giving them holds up. And that's really, really important. I really hope that my presentation today, it was inspiring. I hope it gave you some ideas. We probably won't go to the questions right away. I think there's another presenter after, but I will stay on and answer any questions, and I thank you for your time.